Hello and welcome to a special segment on the Northwestern Coniferous Forest. We will explore the abiotic as well as the biotic factors and the natural life that dwells within the vast forests of the Northwest. Stay tuned after the commercial for more information.
Explore the great outdoors. Come visit the Northern Boreal Forest today. Enjoy our majestic evergreen trees and high mountain elevations. Our long winters and high precipitation provide our park with thick plant growth and a vast supply of nutrients. Our great hiking trails provide access to some of the oldest and tallest trees in the world. Please come join us today. It's fun for the whole family.
Welcome back. I'm Frances Wild, and this is KBCV 14. Today we are looking into the Northwestern Coniferous Forest, and before we meet our field reporter, Ruth Sherwood, let's go get some background. Percy, you're on air.
Yes, thank you, Francis. As you can see in the picture behind me, a majority of the plant life consists of cone-bearing needle-leaved or scale-leaved evergreen trees. These trees have adapted to the long winters of the coniferous forest and do not shed their leaves in the winter, hence the name evergreen.
Wow, Percy, that's very interesting. Could you tell us more about the animals that live there?
And now here you can see that there's a food web with the predators at top and the prey on the bottom. Next up are the consumers. Some of the primary consumers include deer and elk, as well as shrews, voles, squirrels, martens, and moose. And some tertiary consumers of the Northwestern Coniferous Forest include bears, wolves, lynx, and wolverine. Along with the producers and the consumers of the Northwestern Coniferous, there's also decomposers. Those include earthworms and many different types of fungi. And that's all I have today. Back to you, Francis.
Thank you, Percy. Now we're going to meet with our field reporter, Ruth Sherwood. Ruth has an exclusive interview with Martha Marigold, a park ranger and an expert on the Northwestern Coniferous Forest.
Thanks, Francis. I'm here with Martha Marigold, and today she's going to tell us about the biome in which she lives in, the Northwestern Coniferous Forest.
Hi, thank you. So I live in the coniferous forest. I moved out here because I'm like super independent and I really believe in the idea of like rugged individualism. So I moved out here. So a couple things about this forest, the coniferous forest. There's super long winters, which means that there's like really high precipitation. I'm sorry. Precipitation. Okay. I'm just nervous on camera. And so that means that the plant life is really abundant and really vast, which is really cool. There's lots of plants, as you can see, around us. There's also some things called symbiotic relationships that you guys might not know about. They're pretty cool. Sorry.
So Martha, I heard you know a lot about the symbiotic relationships out in this biome. Care to explain?
Sure. So some of the symbiotic relationships that go on are between like a fungi and a tree. So like fungi grows on the tree, and the fungi, it gives minerals to the tree, so that helps the tree grow, and the tree gives carbohydrates to the fungi, which makes it easier to grow as well. So that's like a win-win relationship between the two things living in the forest.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, it sure is.
So Martha, care to explain any other relationships with animals or any living organisms out here?
Sure. So another example of a relationship is called parasitism, which involves a tick that lives on an animal, such as a bear, because the tick will suck the blood of the animal. Kind of gross. You know, I knew this one bear. Her name was Gretchen, and my friend, and we were just having a great time. It was too good of a time. That's how I got this scar right there. But anyway, that's another story.
Ouch. Thanks for
Yeah.
the information, though.
Yeah, no problem. So another cool thing that I want to tell you guys about is organism adaptations, which is pretty cool. So there's this bunny called the snowshoe hare, which changes their fur from brown in the summer to white in the winter, so they can adapt to their environment. Another example are wolverines, which are pretty scary out here. They have converted to being omnivores, which means that they eat plants and animals, which is cool, because the plant life is abundant here.
Nice.
Very. So another thing that's cool with some of the species that live here is that they're specifically adapted for the long winters that we have. Like bears, they'll hibernate, and a specific type of frog will freeze about 75% of their body for the winter because of the glucose levels in their cells. And then after the winter's over, they wake up and they're totally fine, which is pretty cool. And then you've got a bunch of evergreen trees, which you can see we've got a lot of in the winter. And their pine needles, they don't fall off in the wintertime because they're adapted specifically for that kind of weather.
Very fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Today we are joined with Gretchen the grizzly bear. She's here to talk about endangered plants and animals. Gretchen, how are you? Grrr. That's great, Gretchen. So Gretchen, I know this is a difficult topic, but how many of your species is left in the wild?
Grrr.
May I ask why?
Grrr.
I'm so sorry, Gretchen. Thanks for being here, Gretchen. I hope you had a great time.
Grrr.
Now let's cut back to Ruth Sherwood and Martha Marigold while they talk about the impacts of human activity.
So Martha, how do you think the human activity has impacted this biome?
Well, it's impacted it in a very detrimental way. Clear cutting is a very detrimental thing that's been happening to the coniferous forest. In particular, it has made some species go extinct or close to going extinct, like the whooping crane, not to be confused with whooping cough. There are less than 500 whooping cranes. And then you've got the woodland caribou that are dwindling down to less than 100,000 of those, which is not good. And then you've also got soil erosion and climate change because of the loss of trees. So there's also something really serious called acid rain. I don't know if you've heard of that. So this damages the trees because it limits the amount of nutrients that get to the trees. And so the ones that don't die from this are actually weaker now because of this. And then there's also global warming, which is an ever-present threat because the biomes cannot adapt to the rapid temperature changes. So when you've got road construction, which is another detrimental thing to the forest, that diminishes the opportunity for hunting, feeding, and migration for certain species in the forest. And then you've also got hunting and trapping, which creates an imbalance in the populations of the species that live in the forest.
Thank you for joining us today, Martha. You were a really big help with us understanding this biome. Now back to Frances Wild. Psych! It's Ruth here. Today we're going to be talking about organism adaptations. The first one I'm going to start with are bears. So bears benefit from hibernation in the winter because there isn't much food, and they are able to store their fat from the spring, summer, and fall months. Once the food is plentiful, the bears will soon wake again. Evergreen trees' adaptation is that they stay green all year round, so they're able to collect sunlight, which gives them an advantage to other trees because they don't go into hibernation. Something else I'm going to be talking about today is limiting factors in the Northwestern Coniferous Forest. First, we're going to start off with lack of rainfall. This causes less vegetation to grow food, so that means less food for carnivores and omnivores, causing a disbalance in the food web. Another limiting factor is forest fires. This can wipe out habitats for the animals that live within them. Next, humans inhabiting the forest, which can be used by towns, campgrounds, and roads. That's all, folks. Thanks for staying tuned with us.